Mainframe. What the heck? Der Enterprise Transformation Podcast mit Heidi Schmidt von PKS, Tobias Leicher von Ibm und immer wieder spannenden, wechselnden Gästen aus der Mainframe Community.
Herzlich willkommen zur heutigen Folge des 25. Enterprise Transformation Podcasts. Heute einmal mit einem Gast aus den USA, dem Alixander Laffredo-Dietrich, mit dem der Tobias und ich uns heute zum Thema Ibm Z Champion Program austauschen. Und daher switchen wir jetzt ins Englische. Hi Alexander. Hi Tobias. Great to have you both here today. And yeah, we want to talk a little bit with Alexander today about something that is maybe not known by our listener. It's called
So maybe we start, Alexander, who are you and how did you get involved with all of this?
Yeah, so to start off, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be on and excited to be talking about our wonderful program, the Champions program and the Z Champions program, which we'll get into in a little bit. But my role at IBM, I'm the program manager for the Ibm Z Champions program. And that's essentially I help our wonderful champions, the cream of the crop that we have of influencers, best minds in the industry, and sharing opportunities with them so they can spread the good word about the IBM Z platform and share that with the world.
So how did you get into IBM? What was your start with the IT industry at all then? So how did you get into that, and how did you end up in Z, which is probably even more special then?
Yeah, so it was a career trajectory that I would have never expected. So I started working at IBM right out of college. I actually went to college for have y'all ever seen animated movies by like Pixar or Disney or anything like that?
Okay, cool. Of course. We love it.
Yeah. So I went to school for concept art and concept design. So what I would do is draw up the characters and the environments and things like that, and then take those 2D drawings and then turn them into 3D models and animation. So that's actually what I went to school for. And going through university, I was involved with the entrepreneurship community in Richmond, Virginia, which is where I was living at the time. And that translated really well my 3D modeling skills into 3D printing and prototyping. And through that, I ran into a couple folks who were working at IBM at the time. And they were holding a lot of these really cool design thinking workshops, agile workshops. And I was just naturally attracted to that from the type of work that I was doing with the entrepreneurship community. Got to know a couple of really cool people within IBM. One thing led to another. And they said, hey, you should interview and start working as a product manager. And so through that, I became a product manager for go-to-market for the Linux One platform. So for those who are listening, perhaps you've probably heard of Z. Linux One is essentially the IBM Z, except instead of running ZOS or IBM operating system, we run Linux. So Red Hat Enterprise Linux, SUSE, Ubuntu, things of that nature. And from there, I got some experience, made some really good relationships, started coming over into the ecosystem side of things, and was trying to get active on our social media and meeting some of our other champions whom I didn't know were champions at the time. And IBM was saying like, hey, you already know some of the champions. Would you like to be their program manager? We're looking for someone to fill in the role. And I said, yeah, they're awesome people. I mean, I get to work with them as my day job, of course. So that's how I went from artist to IBM Z Champions program manager.
That's indeed a crazy move. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts, but I met a lot of really cool people along the way. And like I said, my job is working with really cool, passionate people. So what more could a guy ask for?
Cool. So I think now we know what you do, and you mentioned you do this champion program thing. So what is the champion program then? So even I have to admit, as as IBMer, I knew there is something like that, but I never really got into it. So what is it? Why is someone interested in that?
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic question. So the champion program is IBM has a bunch of different technologies, and some of those technologies or divisions are selected to have a champions program. And what the Ibm Z Champions do is they are people, whether they're business partners or just generally people who are excited and passionate about IBM technology. They are the cream of the crop when it comes to getting involved in speaking engagements, putting out articles, putting out tutorials. Just think of an influencer times 10. They are the most passionate, spreading the good word and really just trying to get the ideas out there about our technology and helping people be able to experience those technologies, products and services as well. So yeah, just cream of the crop when it comes to influencing.
Okay, and is it difficult for you to find new champions?
Yeah, you know what? I would say there's a bunch of people who get nominated, but we really look for the ones that are consistently putting out content, that are consistently trying to break into new channels. Podcasting for one, this is a perfect example of it, right? So we do get a lot of applications, but to become a champion, it is pretty tricky, but we think it's a great accolade for someone to become a champion, because it means they're showing their passion on a regular basis.
Okay, and so what are the benefits of becoming a champion for the individuals?
Yeah, so one of the things that we like to do, there's a bunch of things that we like to do to give benefits to our champions. So just to name a few, we have invitations, discounts, VIP perks at our IBM conferences and events. We got swag, so champion logo gear, digital badges, so you can show that on your LinkedIn or whatever your professional networking sites are. Visibility, recognition, and generally just more networking opportunities. We have specialized IBM communities on our site that only champions can access. We even give them exclusive access to meeting a lot of our product development teams and starting to see firsthand what's coming through the pipeline, what's about to hit the market. Their content, we promote that through our channels and communities as well. So again, if you're, maybe you're thinking about, hey, I'd love to be an IBM champion and I have this awesome blog or I have this awesome podcast or whatever it is. If you're a champion and you say, hey, I want to promote this, we will promote it through all of our channels. And then, just special recognition across our IBM community. So there's a lot that we do as a thank you for those who are really, like I like to say, spreading the good word.
Okay, and how many people currently are nominated as a champion for Z?
For Z, I believe we have 82 or 83. Yeah, so we're just over 80.
And it makes also, I think, visible how important the Z platform is still for IBM. As it's inside this champion program, because I know there are other champion groups for maybe Power or DB2 or other topics. And so Z is a central part still there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, IBM is a massive, massive company, which is a lot of cool stuff. But out of all the little departments that we have, I believe off the top of my head, I think we have 9 or 10 champions programs that IBM has chosen to help recognize those special technologies, products and services. And IBM Z is one of those channels. So it is, it's bread and butter. It's an incredibly important technology, foundational to everyday life. I mean, it's very shocking to really see and amazing to see how much our lives tie into this platform. And most of us don't even recognize it. And IBM understands that. And that's why we have a specialized champions program for the Ibm Z platform.
That's cool. So Heidi, actually, I think you are a champion actually yourself. So how did you get into contact with all of this? How did that work for you?
Yes, this is correct. I've known the program since several years because also some of my employees here at PKS were nominated in the past, mainly for Power, where we are also active. And so last year I thought maybe I nominate myself or try to make visible what I'm doing in the IBM community. Yes, and so you do an application online. And you must fill in where you have spoken at conferences, what you are doing on social media, and so on. And yes, therefore, then I was elected this year for being a champion for Z and also for Power. So I'm very proud, and we have monthly calls within these champion groups. So just today, earlier on, there was a Power developer meeting. And for me, it's very useful to get in contact with other, with customers, with business partners, being active in this area and see what they are doing. So it's really a great network, and I think it makes you stronger in what you knowing what's going on in this area and in the C platform at all. And it's also, for me, it's interesting to see what people are bringing in experience from other countries or even other areas worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I just want to say, Heidi, you're a rock star champion, by the way. You do so much for the community. So, I mean, you are a paradigm example of what an IBM champion is. And yeah, I mean, if anybody's interested in whether you want to nominate somebody else or nominate yourself, it's totally, you can do either or. But just some of the things that we really look for when we're going through these nominations are, and Heidi touched on a little bit, are you somebody who evangelizes and advocates for IBM? So whether that's speaking at conferences or events or being active on social media or whatever that is, that counts as evangelizing and advocating for IBM. Are you somebody who shares your knowledge and expertise? So are there online forums that you participate in? Are you answering questions? Are you doing podcasts and interviews? Are you creating tutorials? We also look for people who help grow and nurture the community. Again, using social media or other platforms to engage newer IBMers, or not IBMers, newer people that are interested in the platform. So a really good example is last year we held our 2020 Master the Mainframe competition, and we had a couple of our champions be judges and mentor some of the new people coming onto the platform. We also look for people who expand reach across the IBM portfolio. So are you using the products and services and can speak to them? And then lastly, anybody who provides feedback on IBM products and directions. We're constantly building and trying to innovate. And part of that process is getting honest feedback from folks who are using our stuff in real time, who can help us out with that. So, if you hit some or all of that criteria and you want to nominate yourself, that's just some of the things that we're looking for when we go through our nominations and determine who would be a good candidate to be an IBM champion.
And hopefully some of our listeners are now interested in joining this group, because I really think it's very inspiring and a lot of fun, and also help you to maybe also Tobias, to make it more easier to talk internally, because we know a lot of our listeners have still problems to position the platform and so on. And I think such a program can also help to get good arguments and ideas about how to handle these conversations.
Yeah, and I think as you said, it is the network, and as also Alixander said, it's not just about the proud and loud ones on stages. It's also about the community work that people do, and I think that's usually people are generally saying, but what I do. Everyone can do that. That's a classical thing. Psychology calls it the imposter syndrome. So we all think it is not really worth it. But I think a lot of our customers really do great stuff. They engage themselves on GSE events, so our European share, and all this stuff. And it can be just as simple as being a regular influencer within the own company. So it doesn't need to be completely public, but maybe just have a try and have a chat and also ask. Maybe things you do internally in your company can be also quite easily be published on a blog or stuff like that. They can be published on the communities pages that Alexander talked about. So I think it is really worth it, and it is worth the fun to have the chats. And I mean, we already realized that in our podcast, do we? Every other time we have interesting guests, and we always learn something out of that perspective. And as you said, Heidi, maybe a lot of the things that we then learn, or that you would learn when you do some work as a champion, can then help you again within your own company to help to actually rephrase the branding of the IBM Z work that you do in the company and make it look as attractive as it really is, because I think we all know and agree that the Z platform is still kicking for most of our customers, but we have a hard time to actually sell it, and that is something we can actually do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, on that note, or on a slightly earlier note, we have, I talked to some of our champions, and one of them was like, I really don't like getting up on stage and speaking. That's not my thing. But they are somebody who also is putting out lots of articles, who's putting out a lot of tutorials. They have GitHub repositories that they constantly update. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be a champion. We have other people, as you mentioned, who compile so much information that they get within their company into these really nice newsletters and publish those and share them around. So you don't have to be a stage person, if you will. It doesn't hurt, but there's a lot of different ways that you can support the platform and spread your passion, and we certainly take all of that into consideration and appreciate every single act that people do to help others in this realm.
Yeah, that's great. And the next podcast already, we also will have one of the youngest, I think, member of the Z Champion program. It's Lela. You know her already, Alexander, I think. I think this will also be a good example to show the idea behind the program and make it visible to the community. For
sure. I will vouch for Lela. Make sure you tune into that episode as well, because she's fun. She's fun to listen to. So yeah, you don't want to miss that.
And she's a perfect example that being young doesn't mean you dislike the mainframe or you have no interest in. It is actually, it shows that maybe this generation that grows up now have no bias in the mainframe anymore. They don't even know it anymore. So to them, it's just one technology out of many. And actually, it's a quite cool one because you can repair things without turning it off and stuff like that. And so I think that is, again, a very good testimonial to all these managers that say we need to turn it off because we will not find any people. I think that the thing is you need to look for them, and if you look for them, you will find plenty of interesting characters that can actually shape the future of IBM Z in whatever way is needed to suit your business actually best.
Absolutely. Yep. And to become a champion, I mean, we look for a wide variety of people. So whether you're a business partner or a customer, or you're a younger person that's it's like, hey, I bought something online and that went through Mainframe, and I think that's cool, and I want to support that. It touches everybody's life, and if you're somebody who's passionate about that and spreads that passion, you are a perfect nominee to be an IBM champion. Age, sex, gender, job, whatever, it does not matter. If you're passionate about it, we want to hear about you.
Okay, Tobias, so I think we will take this with us and ask as many of our guests in the future to apply.
Yeah. Applying for our podcast can be your first step into becoming a champion. Maybe that is motivational for some people out there to actually join us.
Perfect. Yeah, so great to have you here, Alixander. I'm looking at the clock and see that we are already talking about a lot of minutes. So maybe, Tobias, it's also time now to finish up and ask your final question.
Yeah, usually, and we didn't prepare you for that one. And you're actually the first guest that is totally excused not to know, because all the other times it's in German. We usually end up with a question that is, what have you taken with you from this podcast series? What is it that you actually found most interesting? What is a thought that you want to take with you afterwards? And as you were not pre-warned, we would start with Heidi, then I would do my thought, and then you have the final words and have some time for your preparation yourself. So Heidi, what are the thoughts that you will take with you from this episode?
For sure, I know the program already a little bit. So about the content, this was nothing really new for me. It was interesting to get more information about who Alixander is and what he has done before joining this program. And for me, it was also a good information to see that he originally did something totally special and also totally different, and also get excited by this platform. So this was the takeaway from me today.
Oh, that was actually my one too, because I find it very interesting. So as we said in the beginning, you asked, do we know these Pixar movies? I love it. I'm a big, massive fan of any Pixar, and actually also Disney these days, but it's just crazy. So I found that very, very interesting too. But as I'm an IBMer, I should know probably a lot more about the program. I think it is also interesting to see that we have this community of people worldwide that do fancy stuff, and that is actually managed, and there is actually a go-to person if you have questions. And I think that is a commitment to the platform. And as you said, it is not a commitment of every IBM product we have. It is a little bit special, and I think it's also leading the pack with IBM Z. So that was an interesting thing for me as well, besides from artist to champions manager. So what is your points here, Alixander?
I would say y'all hit on some really great points. I would say my point actually came at the end when I found out that your next episode is going to be with Lela. And I want to highlight that because that goes into really an ethos of what the Champions program is all about. Champions are promoting other champions all the time. And so it was a pleasant surprise to hear Lela's the next person on this. Champions working together to really spread what IBM Z and our programs are all about. So for me, that was just such a pleasure to hear. Yeah, so I'm excited to hear what Lela's got.
Great. Yeah, I know her already, but I think, Tobias, you will meet her, and I think you'll also be very excited about meeting her. Yeah, and she's 16-year-old, so.
I was already when I read that. So I did some internet research when you sent the invite, and I was like, ooh, that's crazy. If you are interested, I mean, I was interested by the Mainframe early in my career, but that is really crazy, and I think she will have a hell of career in front of her, and that's really cool. So I'm looking forward a lot.
Okay, so great session today. Thank you so much for spending the time and your ideas and great information. Thanks, Alixander, for standing up a little bit early today, maybe.
No, thank you so much for having me. I was looking forward to this for a while, so I appreciate you reaching out. And I had a ton of fun. Thank you.
Gut, ja, dann hoffe ich, dass auch diese Session wieder für unsere Podcast-Zuhörer eine Bereicherung war. Immer gern her natürlich auch mit den Ideen und Feedback über die gewohnten Kanäle, dass wir wissen, was euch gefällt und was euch vielleicht auch noch fehlt. Sind der Tobias und ich immer ganz froh. Und ja, Tobias, dann würden wir auch diesen Podcast wieder beenden für heute und dann gebe ich dir das letzte Wort und sag schon mal von mir aus Tschüss.
Vielen Dank. Es war mir auch eine Freude und genau, vielleicht auch ein kleines Feedback, ob so eine englische Folge zwischendurch, ob das okay ist. Wir waren ja bis jetzt immer sehr deutsch unterwegs und denke, das ist ja auch immer leicht zu verdauen bei so einem Podcast, wenn es die Muttersprache ist, aber wir haben jetzt so ein paar Gäste, die wir auch international haben und vielleicht da auch einfach ein Feedback, ob das gefällt, ob das okay ist oder ob wir versuchen sollten, dann doch eher im deutschsprachigen Raum zu bleiben. Ich denke, das wäre auch eine spannende Frage für mich. Von daher vielen Dank. Thank you very much, Alixander, and cheers, bis bald, tschüss.
Mainframe. What the heck? Der Enterprise Transformation Podcast mit Heidi Schmidt von PKS, Tobias Leicher von IBM und immer wieder spannenden, wechselnden Gästen aus der Mainframe Community.